You got Newsome on a rookie deal. You mentioned A.J. Green, undrafted. Now, there's a pretty big potential extension coming due in Denzel Ward. And again, we're not saying that the Browns are going to trade Denzel Ward, but let's take a look at a tweet that you put out, what they could do if you trade Denzel Ward. So take us through this tweet and kind of the thought process there, Jack.
Yeah, so it's a win-win either way, whether you keep him or not. If you keep him, hey, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to get signed probably between mid-July and the first week of August. It's when the Browns tend to do their big extensions. But Ramsey set the market at $20 million a year. You've got Jair Alexander and Denzel Ward. Whichever one gets paid first probably gets $21 million a year. Whichever one gets paid second gets $22. We saw the same thing with Myles Garrett and Joey Bosa. Bosa signed 2 weeks later, got an extra $2 million a year. So timing is everything, and why those two players are just sort of waiting it out. But it's not about saving money or getting so much the picks. It's just about how you go and spend that $22 million a year. And if you could say, hey, rather than Denzel Ward and sort of 3 UDFA guys on $1 million as sort of a cheap veteran, you could then go and, hey, let's get that first, call that Garrett Wilson. Take a third, let's call that Jeremy Rucker. And then you go and spend that $22 million in free agency. Well, we could talk about that being Clowney and Stephon Gilmore. So you bring in a really great corner in Gilmore. You then have Greedy and AJ Green, who are young developmental guys. Obviously Newsome paired up there. So you're really solid still at corner. And it's all about that group strength there. But then you've added Garrett Wilson, who's going to be a phenomenal player in the NFL, and I'd rather he's on my team than someone against me. And then you add some other pieces as well. Jadeveon Clowney, hey, it improves that pass rush. Hey, you bring in Clowney, you could spend that on Calais Campbell. You could spend some of that money on the Honey Badger at safety. You can decide where that money goes, but trading Denzel Ward, even though it would be tough to lose a corner of his caliber, you can bring in multiple guys that give you an upgrade across the group. So it's a win if you keep him, but that's going to be expensive at $22 million a year. But if you trade him, that's what you can look for as a package. Jalen Ramsey, Jamal Adams, those guys both went for 2-2s. So I think a first and a third is fair value. And it's about deciding, do we want to put all of our eggs in one basket in Denzel Ward, who has had some injury concerns, or do we spread that risk over 4 guys with Garrett Wilson, Gilmore, Clowney, and Rutger? I think it's a win-win either way. And if the Browns really loved him, we'd have seen a contract extension by now. We saw one with Myles Garrett. We saw one with Nick Chubb. After 3 years, you can extend a guy. Anytime they haven't extended a guy, you've got to ask the question why. We obviously know the answer relating to Baker Mayfield, why they didn't want to extend him. Do they have concerns about Denzel Ward? We don't know yet, and we'll find out later this offseason.